Nobody truly knows enough to be a pessimist. I'll repeat that again. Nobody knows enough to be a pessimist. I know a lot of people live in fear and anxiety, and especially people who are really, constantly paying attention to what's going on around the world, all the pollution and destruction, and or people maybe you're focused on politics and worried about the economy or whatever, or one of the many different situations that's happening around the world, um, and again, nobody knows enough to be a pessimist. And I want to, I did a post today on my social media, on my Instagram and Facebook, and it was based on some answers that a shaman had given in an interview. And one of the responses that the shaman made was just really resonated with me the most, and I felt compelled to share it. And the shaman was asked, what is fear? That was one of the questions. And I love what he said. He said, fear is not accepting of uncertainty. And as you can begin to accept uncertainty and live in uncertainty, then life becomes a daring adventure. And I thought that was great, because so many people just cling to having to know exactly what's going on all the time. They crave having to live in certainty. It's why people will stay in a relationship that's making them miserable and that they hate, because the fear of the uncertainty of going into the unknown, of going through a breakup, and having to maybe live out on your own, and the unknown of dating again if you'll ever meet somebody again or whatever. That uncertainty brings so much fear to most people that they would rather stay in a relationship that's making them miserable and that they hate for the rest of their life than to take a chance at the uncertainty. And because when you do, then, like the shaman said, then life becomes an adventure. Life becomes a daring adventure. We and sometimes, when you're thinking about all the different problems around the world and this and that, you got to take a step back. Again, nobody knows enough to be a pessimist. We don't, you got to sometimes take a step back and look at things from more of a macro level, instead of just focusing on you and yourself and what's most important to you. Sometimes you might have to step back so far and think about, what, maybe this is, what's meant to be for a greater purpose for humanity or whatever, or things are, every history moves in cycles. Maybe something is supposed to happen that, we can't see because it's not going to happen in our lifetime or for a very long time or whatever. But again, nobody knows enough to be a pessimist. We don't have enough information. And it's pointless to go through life living in fear and anxiety over things that we can't control. Fear and anxiety comes from most people focusing on a future event, or from stuck focusing on something that happened in the past. And both of those are out of our control. We can't control what's going to happen in the future. We can't control what's going to happen in the past. The only thing we really have control over is the now, the present. And you just have to find that joy and that peace and the happiness and the adventure of living in the now and the uncertainty of not knowing that, don't know what's going to happen, but all you can do is work on yourself and bring your best to the table every single day. Wake up every day with a grateful attitude that, we get to be alive for another day, and cherish the memories and every moment that you have with your family and your friends. Appreciate it, and just trust that everything's happening for a reason. Everything's unfolding the way it is, and even if we can't see it yet, and even if it makes no sense, you have to trust that the dots will connect. When you look back on your life, say for example, if you're married, if you're married, you're married to the love of your life. Well, most likely before you met this person, you probably had a couple of relationships before that person, and most likely went through heartbreaks and so forth. And although at the time they were really hard to go through, probably now you can see how if you wouldn't have gone through those, if you wouldn't have broken up from those relationships, you'd never be with the person that you're with today. And at the moment, it may have been like, end of the world, and you couldn't see how you could make sense of the situation. But now looking backwards, you can see clearly how the dots connect perfectly. And that's the mystery of life. It's real hard to connect the dots and see how everything is unfolding the way that it's supposed to as you look forward. But when you look back, a lot of times you can see how everything happened exactly the way that it was supposed to, leading you up to exactly where you are. And again, that can be hard, near impossible to see looking forward, and that's where you just have to trust. You just have to trust that everything's unfolding and happening for a reason, and know that you don't have enough information to go through life as a pessimist. And with that being said, just choose to go through life, seeing life as an adventure. Bring your best version of yourself to the table every day. Live life with in gratitude, and just be grateful for every moment you're here. Life is short. Life is beautiful. So with that being said, guys, I hope you all having a great weekend. Let's make it a great day, a great week, a great month, a great year. Let's make it a great life. See ya.